while to make this video. If you guys don't recognize this bike, you need to go back through the channel and look at all the other build stuff that we did on this. It has a 170 big bore kit and just all the odds and ends stuff that you could ever want for your 140. In this episode, we are going to take the front end off of this, but we have a little surprise for the front end that's going to go on this, and I have not seen any other videos of anybody doing this, and I haven't done it either. All right, so these are all the parts that are getting ready to go onto this 140. Right down here we have our JTI triple clamps, so we have to convert the bearing race set over to this, or run these triple clamps to fit those forks down there. He went ahead and bought a brand new YZ85 front hoop with the parts that he bought off of the person to do this conversion kit. He got the hubs. This is a KLX140L hub, and we've decided not to use that. And then this is the stock wheel that was on the KLX, and we're going to cut all these spokes off. He's going to have this powder coated to match this color, and then I'll relace this wheel back up so that they both match. Today's goal right now is to finish getting the other triple clamps off of the bike, and then get these ones mounted up with the new forks, and maybe even be able to get the brake set up on it and everything. Okay, so with all those parts laid out, you guys kind of know what parts we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and real quick and go over my stock 140. This is a 2008, this is a 2021. So all years of the 140s are pretty much the same bike. This bike has actually the top end off of this. So this is an 08 bottom end with the 2021 top end, and I mean it runs great. I'll go over some of the stuff that you're going to need to take off to get your bike down to this point. The rear tire is obviously optional, but if you're doing the super mini swap, you should already have a good understanding of how to pull this front end apart, but I'm going to go ahead and give you a refresher just in case you don't know and it's your first time doing something like this. So let's get over here and check it out. Okay, so this is a stock 2008. So essentially what you're going to need to do to get this front end off of this bike is you need to first start by taking your front wheel off. Go ahead and get that out of the way. And then you want to loosen these two 8mm bolts, these two 12mm bolts, and get your brake assembly up and out of the way. You want to take this bolt all the way out so that you can pull this off and leave it on the line without having to disconnect one end. Put the bolt back in here, and then you should be able to take off the whole brake assembly down to there. Then the only other spot it'll be attached is right here by the two 8mm bolts in the backside of your brake lever at the top. Okay, so that'll get rid of your brake system. Now, all you should have to do is loosen this other bolt right here on this side and this top bolt. This one is a 14 and this one is a 12. Loosen all four of those, and each fork leg should slide right out of the bike. With the handlebar stuff, you'll need to take out every bolt and just let everything hang. If you want to leave the bars attached to the cables and stuff, you can do that and just flip it up here and lay it on your seat. But regardless, you're going to have to pull this off. You're going to have to take these four bolts loose. That way you can get in here and get access to this nut. Once you crack this nut loose, go ahead and unthread this, and this whole top clamp will come right off the bike. Then we're just going to have to loosen this nut up, and that should drop the bottom clamp right out the bottom and give us access to all the bearings and stuff, so that way we can see exactly what we're going to be swapping over here. And then we'll start figuring out what we need to do to put these other clamps on there. Now there are special tools for doing this, but I'm just going to use a screwdriver and a dead blow. And we're going to make sure that we have a screwdriver that has a nice flat end on it, that way we can put it right down in this groove. That way we have less chance of messing that up. So go ahead and finish removing this. Get this up out of there. Pull this out. Perfect. They look really good. I wonder if these are the same size as the JTI clamps. Just based on the side-by-side, these things look like they're the same. I think those are the same bearings, so I should just be able to grease this up and toss it on there. I'm gonna go ahead and read the instructions on that first, and then we'll throw it on there. Okay, you guys can pause and read all this if you need to read all this. What I learned from that is that these tapered bearings are a swap. Some bikes have them, some bikes don't. Since that KLX has got those and they look brand new, I'm just gonna go ahead and roll with the races that are in it because they look really good. On these races, they're nice and clean. There's no grooves in them, there's no uneven heat or anything. There's some grease in there, but we'll clean all that out. We'll repack it with the grease that we use here. And I guess we can go ahead and get the triple clamps on there. The bearings are packed up. If you don't know how to do this, you just put a glob of grease in the middle of your hand, push grease through the backside of this. This one you gotta kind of like put grease at the top and like force it down into it since it's already on there. We're gonna reuse this factory nut as well as this factory nut and washer. And we also have another washer right in there. All right, now first thing that we're gonna go ahead and do, grab my brush, some grease on it, and put some just right around the inside of these. That way everything's got a little lubrication when it goes together so that it can survive and keep the water and all the other shit out of it that's not supposed to be in it. Stick it up in here. Stick this one right on top. And we'll put our dust shield on here, just like so. When you guys are putting this on here, there's a spacer that is supplied. It's this little ring right here. This fits right here on top of the top seal. Then you put your steering stem nut on there at the top. Make sure that the crown is at the bottom. Throw that on there as good as you can by hand. I'm gonna spin it 1/2 rotation. I know that right now it's gonna feel really tight, but then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spin it the other way, and I'm going to spin this back 1/4 of a rotation. That way I know that it's seated in there and that I can let off a little bit. So I'm gonna take this, actually I'll take this one and I'll move it over here to the 3 o'clock. Once we get everything on there, it'll feel much looser with all the weight. Go ahead and get this top clamp on here. Use our stock washer. This has got a bevel in it. The bevel goes up. Put that on there. Thread this down. We're trying to get this snug with our hands because in the JTI instructions, it says to just get this top one just finger tight, because we're gonna put the forks in here and make sure everything's aligned. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean up all this extra grease that's laying around everywhere, and then I'm gonna get the forks and we'll go ahead and toss those bad boys in there. So let's go ahead and throw this left side fork on. Okay, and then we can align our top fork, just like that. And then for now, I'm going to bring it down level with the top triple clamp. Tighten that one just a little bit just to hold it in place. I'll go ahead and tighten these ones first just a little bit. Just enough to hold these forks in place so I can loosen this top one. All right, now that fork's in there pretty good. I do believe that both of these run up on the inside of this fork, like so, as well as that. Put this one up in here. Go ahead and lift her up, put it in right about there. Okay, now these are just in here, just snug for now. So that's the basic setup of putting this front end on there. Torque it right down to 32 foot-pounds. Just keep going till you hear a click. 22 foot-pounds. Lock that in. We're gonna go through here and we're gonna torque these. And this isn't the final setup. I'm sure that I'll have these forks out again and we're gonna adjust the height of them and all that fun stuff. One thing I will say about doing this stuff is you don't always need to torque every bolt that you work on, but when there are specific bolts that control things that can mess up if you over tighten it or under tighten it or whatever, such as your suspension, then you should always torque those bolts, because if you have uneven pressure, especially with it having two separate tabs here, you're gonna have problems with your forks, because if you squeeze this, especially this bottom piece, too tight with these bolts back here, then your valving inside your suspension won't work properly and you might as well not even have done the swap. So there's the setup. That's that so far. This is another critical piece of information that you need to know here, because when you're doing this swap, you're swapping over to a YZ85, and if you don't want to use a YZ85, which sometimes it can be hard to find a green YZ85 front fender, however you can find black and like other colors that would work. But if you don't want to spend the money on doing that, you can use the stock fender if you know how to do it. On this fender, I've already done it and I've test fitted it and made sure that it was centered and everything looks good. It sits in a pretty good spot so that I can start figuring out the number plate. I'm gonna show you guys a little trick on how to get the bolt spacing that you need. I'm gonna use this triple clamp as the example on how to get that. This is a pretty easy trick that you can use. Grease, that's all it is. Take just a little bit of grease, you don't need a bunch. Just lightly brush it onto the bottoms of where the bolt holes are at. So now what we can do is we can take this and we can take a piece of cardboard, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna sit it right on the end of this and try not to move it. You wanna just sit it on there and push it down so that you can get each spot. You wanna just push them down. I mean, you can feel the cardboard kind of collapse where the bolt holes are at, and then you should be able to pick it off. And you have a pretty damn good template right there. So then, what I like to do, just to make sure that I don't lose this template, considering it's made out of grease, take a pen, color in the center of this hole so that I know it needs to go. Okay, now I kind of got my template. Once I get it completely done, this is the front, so I know which way is the front of the fender. That way if they're not perfectly parallel, it works. And what I did was I put it on here. I looked at some key points, you know, where the fender bends here and here, and lined it up as best as I could. Made sure it was straight. And then I drilled 1/4-inch holes through here. And then I stepped my bit up to a 23/64 to accept the stock washer sleeves. That's how I did that. If you guys need to know how to do it, let's go over to the bike and we're gonna go ahead and mount this up real quick. That way we can check it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and fit this on here. There. Yes. I mean, that looks pretty good. I really don't care for these fenders, but that doesn't look bad on there for being just kind of new holes drilled and put on there. Okay, now the number plate for this is much different, and it's something I'm gonna have to figure out. But if you look down in here, there's nothing there on the clamp like there is on the stock clamp. There's a little post that comes out the center of the stock clamp that this little thing goes into. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to mount that and then make like a bracket or something that goes from that threaded piece, this threaded hole right here, and comes out so that we can put a bolt through the front of the plate like stock. I'm gonna loosen these nuts up down here first. HW8. I think anything more than these bars might be overkill because this looks quite a bit higher than the stock position. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to make sure that this up here is even with the one back here. I'm gonna loosen the back ones a little bit. Try to get them straight and kind of where I think they should be. So we're gonna tighten these back ones down just a little bit. And we'll get our HW8 back out. Tighten these ones down good again. There we go. Oh yeah. That looks and feels really good. Yeah, that looks really nice. It feels nice and smooth. We need to finish hooking all that stuff up, start throwing the levers and stuff up on the bars. I only use an impact as my mode of doing this just to get stuff close, and then I hand do the rest of it. I can adjust this back over. Right there. Perfect. Okay, perfect. So this thing will slide back on here. Dude, we're freaking getting it. We are freaking getting it. It's gonna be so sick. That's pretty much the bar setup. Much taller than stock, that's for sure. Maybe move them back just a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks good. Like in line with the thing, yeah. I love it. Hell yeah. Okay, so my camera's about to die, so I'm gonna head home for the day because it's the end of my work day. Tomorrow, all of these parts and stuff are gonna get all cleaned up and they're gonna start getting put on there. I just didn't want to put them all on there super dirty and stuff. And then I need to get the spokes from Joshua and get him that rear wheel. And then this is ready to get the rest of the front end put on it. All right, I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same video though. All right, I'm not quite sure what the last clip was that I had on this because it's been a minute since we've got to do any videos of it, but I got the triple clamps on, got the forks on. I built both of the wheels. I know that I was gonna video that, but I kind of got carried away with just wanting to get it done. So went ahead and built both of the wheels. They got brand new spokes, powder coated hubs, fresh powder coated wheel. The only things that are really missing on it right now are the front number plate, and I'm waiting on the fork guards from my buddy who I'm building this bike for, and I started mocking up a piece for mounting up the front number plate. So that's where we're at on this one, and hopefully I can get it wrapped up and all the way completely done here soon. That way we can test it out. I did go and ride it the other day, and she rides really well. The front suspension makes a big difference. All right, thank you guys for tuning in and making it all the way to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can stay tuned for future videos. If you found any of the content within this helpful, make sure you hit the like button. Also, if you guys got any concerns or other comments, make sure you leave them down in the comment section below. And if you guys would like to support us even further, hit up braapboyz.com and go pick you up some merch. Thank you guys again for all your support, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.